Now, as you saw here, we had two identical members of the class written inside of our tables. But what if we want to avoid these duplicates inside of our database, and so that we do not have Mary Jane twice? So to fix this, in our models.py, we need to add a feature for the first name and the last name. So for example, here, for example, consider that we have first name and the last name together, and we want to avoid the duplicates. Here we do not do that because the first name and the last name might get repeated over time. So for example, somebody's name might be Mary, but with a different last name, or somebody's last name might be Jane with a different first name, right? So for example, a brother and a sister are in the same class. So here it's not the right job to do that, but if we had the first name and the last name together inside one variable, then we could have written unique equals to true. So by default, unique is equals to false, so that we can have a repeated or a duplicate of one of our members, one of our data in our database, right? But if we set it to true, then the data cannot be repeated. So for example, if there's an email and the email gets repeated for every member, then that is not allowed in the database, and you will face a warning for that, an error for that. Or there are other times, or the database will not accept that. Or there are other times that you want to have a unique username for your members, then you will set it to unique equals to true. So here I'm going to remove this because we might have so many other names with the first name Mary. But if both names, the complete name was inside one variable, then we could have done that in order to avoid the duplicates. Now you also might say that, okay, I want to have a different style from this table right here, and this is very simple. Don't worry about that, because right now we're focusing on the back end. So we want to add the features like delete or update for the members. But as soon as we get finished with these parts in the back end, we're going to develop the front end and make this table much more beautiful. And also about this link over here for adding the members, and we could create a complete website. We can even develop this part for the main page over here. If you have noticed, the main page will not return anything. As you can see, it says page not found, or 404 kind of a 404 kind of a message that is related to page not found, which we're going to develop inside of our templates for the main page, and then create a kind of a link for the classmates so that we are redirected to the classmates list, and then do other kinds of stuff with the list. Also, you might say that, okay, I want to create a website that it has a login or registration, so that only specific users are authenticated, or users can either register or not register. So we can do a lot of this stuff in this website. So Django is unlimited and you can do all of this, but right now we're focusing on the app itself. We're focusing on a CRUD application, which stands for create, read, update, and delete. So we're focusing on the four actions that we can do on a database. So up to now, we've focused on the post and query. So we can see the database. Right now we are querying a database by going to the URL classmates. And when we want to add data to the database by clicking add classmates, we're posting the data to the database. So this is creating, right? So but right now we have completed C and R, create and read. So in the following, we want to completed to update and delete. So in this part of the tutorial, we're going to talk about deleting different elements from the tables of our database. So right now we want to, for example, delete this Mary Jane. So we want to add this to our template related to add. So let's get back to our code and go after add.html. Actually index.html, because this is related to the page for reading the data from our tables. So right over here we can add another part for each of the elements and call this delete. I can also add another one for here, but this one without a link. But for the other ones, I want to add a link for removing parts, so that once you click on the link, you will be able to delete that item. So right here, I want to write delete. And right over here, I also want to add another element, another TD element, and so inside of it I'm going to add a reference, a kind of link over here, which is with a tag. So inside of this tag I'm going to write href, and we're going to define a link for this inside of our urls.py, and this is going to be delete. Okay, and then the name of this link will also be delete. So now right over here, after the delete, we need to also identify which ID we are going to delete, because once we press delete, it might delete all of the or it might not know which element of our database it is going to delete. So we're going to determine which one we're going to delete. So like always, when we are in a Django template, here we're going to write x.id. And so, for example, we have 4 elements in our database, 4 classmates, and there will be 4, consequently, we're going to have 4 addresses for after the delete. So for example, delete 1, so this is related to the first ID, which was for Mary Jane, and it's going to delete that ID, the first ID. Or we want to delete the third one, which was James Thompson, so you want to delete that, and so the ID is 3 and it will delete that ID for you. So this is really important. Don't forget about this part, because if you generally write delete, it will not understand which one to delete. So we're going to complete this further on our views.py and also urls.py. And so let's add this to our urls.py inside of the folder of the app. And here let's write path, and in here apostrophe, and then we're going to have delete, and then we're going to have int id. So this is exactly the same as what we've written inside of our template inside index.html for delete x.id. We've created the same address right over here in the urls.py, and then we're also going to create a function for the views called views.delete. So we're going to create a function called delete for that, and then also don't forget to add comma over here, and also another comma over here, and this is also views, not view. And also the name will be delete. So right over here, let's stop the server, because it might throw an error and says, okay, what is it all about? Because we're not completed with our project, we need to stop this in order not to make any further problems. Anyway, let's continue inside of our views.py. So right over here, we're going to define a new function for deleting data from our database. So we're going to call this delete, just as we've done that. We have request. We also have ID, right? ID is related to what we just wrote inside of our urls.py for ID, right? So it's gonna get this ID and also get the request, which is the delete. And what it's gonna do is to delete the data from the database. And so just like here inside of our index, or actually posting to the database, which we use to get all of the values. So I'm gonna get this one. We want to get all the values. Then, okay, we're gonna paste it right over here. Here, instead of all, we're going to write get, right? Because we want to get the ID that we're looking for. ID equals to ID. And this ID is ID over here. Also, let's change this to classmates. And then we want to delete that classmate with that specific ID. So classmate dot classmates dot delete, and then we want to redirect to this page index. So we're gonna be redirected to page related to the tables. So let's save this, and that's it. So we managed to delete the data, and now let's check if we have done everything all right. So let's follow the link and go to classmates. Or instead, I can just refresh this page. Okay, there we go. We have the delete here, but there seems to be something wrong over here. Let me check, because we cannot click on the link. So let's get back to our index.html. Here there should be a link right here. So we have delete. We might not have saved this one, but now we have saved this. Probably we haven't added something to somewhere. Okay, now the problem comes from here, which we have written this delete inside the wrong place. Should be between the two A tags, not outside of them. So let's save this and now refresh the page. As you can see, everything has just got fixed over here. So if I delete this Mary Jane, as you can see, we don't have this Mary Jane over here. If I also delete this James Thompson, we don't have this anymore. So I can add James Thompson one more time. And as you can see, we've got it again. Okay, so we've successfully deleted data from the database. Let's see what is it all about. We shouldn't have this over here. So let's check this. Probably something has been in there extra. So we have a tag and we have everything set up. So probably this th tag over here. Let's change this to delete with this small letter and refresh the page. No change. Okay, now the problem comes from here. We have an extra tag over here for td. So let's save this and refresh the page. So we don't have it anymore, so perfect. Now in the next part, we're going to see how we can update all of these together. Also notice that we have IDs for each one of them. So because we have deleted those parts, the ID haven't been refreshed. And something else is how we can update all of these members, right? So for example, you have written the name in a wrong way, or you want to change the name, you can press updates so that you don't have to delete all of the members, or you can just update the members, and you can replace Mary Jane with the first one and James Thompson with the second one.